For over a century, the ship has rested on the ocean floor, a rusting relic swallowed by the deep. Once alive with crew and cargo, it now lies silent, its steel skeleton corroded by salt water and time. Maps, journals, and maritime records tell only fragments of its story, leaving historians and enthusiasts to speculate about the lives it carried and the events that led to its sinking. Generations passed, and the wreck became a legend whispered among divers and explorers, a grave of metal, sediment, and forgotten human presence. But the ocean is not merely a grave, it is a silent archivist. It preserves what humans neglect. Deep inside the wreck, a corridor, meant solely for the crew, remained untouched by time or exploration. It was sealed behind debris and collapsed structures entirely hidden from view. No diver had ever entered it, no flashlight had illuminated its passage, no human foot had disturbed its floor. At the end of this narrow passage, a door waited, intact, rusted, mysterious. It had endured storms, shifting sand, and centuries of pressure from the ocean above. Modern diving technology, including high-intensity lights, HD cameras, and pressure-resistant suits, finally made it possible to reach the corridor safely. As the exploration team approached, they felt the weight of history pressing down. The ship had stories frozen in steel, moments suspended in rust. This was more than a wreck, it was a human time capsule. Every beam, every corroded nail, every bent pipe was a witness to lives lived, routines performed, and final moments unknowable. The door at the passage's end symbolized both preservation and mystery, a boundary between the known and the forever hidden. What secrets had been kept behind it? What traces of life survived untouched for decades? This was not a search for treasure, but for truth, a journey into a world humanity had forgotten, but the ocean had patiently preserved. Most divers focus on open cargo holds, engine rooms, or passenger areas, but this ship held a secret, a narrow internal corridor used exclusively by crew for daily operations, maintenance, and emergency movement. Blueprints suggested its existence, but no diver had ever accessed it. Over decades, sediment and debris blocked the entrance. Currents carried sand into the narrow corridor, piling it against walls and sealing it like a tomb. Advanced sonar revealed only faint outlines teasing what could be inside. With modern equipment, divers finally reached the opening, a gap just wide enough for one person to squeeze through. Water pressure was immense, visibility nearly zero, and the risk of collapse was real. As they entered, flashlights illuminated a passage frozen in time, rusted ladders, corroded pipes, and remnants of everyday life for the crew. Tools lay as if someone had just set them down. Marks on the wall suggested repeated movement, but no modern footprints were visible. This passage was a bridge between ordinary life and the extraordinary conditions that led to the ship's sinking. The team advanced cautiously, aware that one wrong move could dislodge centuries of debris. For the first time in human history, this corridor, designed for work, not discovery, was being explored. Every step revealed the intimate daily world of crew members who had long been lost to history. The corridor held more than metal. It carried echoes of human routine, of lives suddenly interrupted, and a story the world had yet to hear. At the corridor's end stood a door, intact despite decades underwater. Its metal was warped, heavily rusted, encrusted with coral and marine growth, yet it remained closed. No record clearly indicated what was behind it. Crew quarters? Storage? Something deliberately sealed? The door symbolized the boundary between what had been seen and what had been hidden. Its hinges were fused with rust, and sediment had built up around the edges, making the slightest movement a challenge. Modern divers prepared carefully, using underwater tools to probe the structure. Each tap echoed faintly through the corridor, announcing their presence to whatever had remained untouched inside. The door's surface bore scars from corrosion, currents, and centuries of pressure, yet it showed resilience against both time and sea. As they attempted to open it, sediment shifted and particles floated into the water, clouding visibility. Every inch revealed the meticulous preservation of a space humans had once occupied. The door was not just a barrier, it was a storyteller. It silently posed questions. Who had walked these passages? What had been left behind in haste or intention? Why had it been sealed for so long? The answer lay behind that metal surface, waiting for the first human to breach it in more than 100 years. The anticipation was palpable. This was not an ordinary discovery. It was a rare glimpse into a private world preserved by water, corrosion, and neglect, waiting to reveal secrets long thought lost. The door had remained sealed not by choice, but by danger. Opening sealed compartments underwater carries extraordinary risks. Pressure differences between compartments, fragile metal structures, and the potential for sudden collapse could trap or kill divers instantly. Many expeditions had passed by the door without attempting entry. Over time, rumors and caution transformed into a tacit respect. Some doors were not meant to be opened. The passage leading to it was narrow, winding, and covered in debris, requiring divers to crawl, twist, and squeeze through constricted spaces. Visibility was minimal, with light scattering in silt suspended by the slightest movement. A misstep could send rusted beams collapsing, or create a sediment cloud making escape nearly impossible. Advances in diving technology, HD cameras, underwater lighting, reinforced suits finally provided explorers with the means to approach safely. Even then, each team approached slowly, documenting every step. Their hearts raced not just with curiosity, but with awareness of mortality. The door's decades-long secrecy was a combination of natural forces and human prudence. It remained untouched, not out of neglect, but because the risks outweighed the knowledge available. Opening it required courage, preparation, and precision. And as the divers began their careful inspection, it became clear that the moment of entry would not merely reveal physical objects, it would expose a preserved slice of human history, frozen in time. When the door finally gave way, it did not swing open smoothly. Decades of pressure and sediment caused it to resist, grinding and scraping along its rusted frame. The divers' lights pierced the darkness as clouds of sand and silt burst outward, reducing visibility to almost zero. Cameras struggled to capture the moment, but beams of light illuminated the first glimpse of a long-sealed chamber. Inside, everything appeared frozen. Beds, storage racks, and personal items lay exactly as they had been left decades ago. No signs of human disturbance or modern intrusion marred the space. Tools were still mounted on walls, instruments corroded but intact. The air of abandonment was profound. For the first time, the world could see what the crew of this ship experienced in their daily routines: the narrow quarters, the limited space, the intimate world they had occupied and maintained. Each object told a story. A bunk frame hinted at sleep interrupted. Boots hinted at work. Personal artifacts hinted at lives lived underwater, now trapped in rust and sediment. This was not a treasure trove. It was a human archive, and its preservation was extraordinary. The divers moved carefully, understanding that one misstep could destroy what time and the ocean had so meticulously preserved. The chamber's silence was almost deafening, echoing centuries of forgotten lives. Inside the newly revealed chamber, divers discovered a space that had remained untouched for decades. Rusted bunk frames lined one side, their thin metal springs sagging under the weight of time. A pair of boots rested beneath one frame, partially buried in sediment but clearly left behind in haste or routine. Mounted tools on the walls, hammers, wrenches, and measuring devices were still secured in their brackets, corroded but intact. Personal items, including a small journal, a folded cloth, and fragments of paper, had survived the decades underwater. Every object offered a glimpse into the private lives of the crew, their routines, their labor, their moments of rest. The room was narrow and sparse, designed not for comfort but function, yet it carried the subtle marks of humanity. Scratches on the walls suggested years of wear, footprints pressed into sediment hinted at movement, and slight corrosion patterns revealed areas of frequent contact. There were no signs of modern intrusion. Nothing suggested anyone had entered this chamber since the ship sank. The team documented everything meticulously, photographing every angle and recording measurements. Each item was a story, each mark a memory. In that moment, the divers understood the significance of their discovery. They were not finding treasure, but time itself, a perfectly preserved slice of life, suspended underwater for generations. The chamber was a testament to the human presence aboard the vessel, and its survival against the ocean's slow decay was extraordinary. Despite the untouched appearance of the chamber, there were no human remains. The absence of bodies was perplexing. Did the crew escape through another route before the ship sank? Were they elsewhere on the vessel when disaster struck? The room, though intact, raised more questions than it answered. Every personal item suggested sudden abandonment or regular use that had been interrupted, yet the cause of the crew's disappearance remained a mystery. Marks on walls, scattered tools, and disturbed sediment hinted at activity, but nothing indicated struggle or panic. The divers were left to interpret subtle clues, aware that every object and scratch was a fragment of a larger, unsolved puzzle. Historians would later debate whether the space had been sealed intentionally or whether natural processes had preserved it so perfectly. For viewers, the chamber became a haunting symbol of uncertainty, the tangible remnants of life juxtaposed against the invisible fate of those who once inhabited it. In essence, the room preserved not tragedy or horror, but questions. Questions about routine interrupted, choices made, and events lost to time and water. The silence of the chamber was both eerie and profound, emphasizing that the ocean can preserve human presence while keeping ultimate truths submerged. This forgotten chamber is more than a curiosity. It reshapes our understanding of the ship's final moments. Historians can now confirm details about crew movements, workspaces, and escape routes that were previously speculative. The passage and its sealed door provide insights into ship design, operational habits, and the human element that is often lost in maritime disasters. Each item, from rusted tools to personal effects, becomes evidence of daily life underwater. For oceanographers and archaeologists, the site demonstrates the ocean's ability to preserve objects with astonishing fidelity. Sediment acted as a natural shield, corrosion proceeded slowly in this sheltered environment, and currents failed to dislodge fragile items. For the public, the discovery humanizes history. Beyond steel and rivets are people with routines, concerns, and moments of quiet reflection. The chamber shows that history is not just a list of dates and names, but lived experiences, frozen and preserved beneath the waves. The find challenges assumptions about what is recoverable from shipwrecks and reminds us that exploration can yield not treasure, but understanding. For over a century, the door at the end of the passage waited silently. It was neither locked nor guarded. It simply existed, impervious to time, pressure, and corrosion. Its rusted hinges had endured storms, shifting sand, and decades of ocean currents. Generations of divers passed by without disturbing it, guided by caution and respect. In a sense, the door was more than a barrier. It was a sentinel of history, protecting the untouched space behind it. When divers finally breached it, they realized the significance of patience and preservation. What lay beyond was not immediately spectacular, yet the value was immeasurable. It was a record of ordinary human life, preserved against extraordinary odds. The door symbolizes the ocean's power to both conceal and protect. It reminds us that history often survives in unexpected places, waiting for the right moment, tools, and people to uncover it. The room behind the door was not just a discovery. It was a portal to the past, offering a tangible connection to lives that had long been forgotten by the world above. It is rare that a simple door carries such weight, bridging the gap between human curiosity and nature's patient preservation. Shipwrecks are more than metal and sediment. They are archives of human history. Each corridor, each door, each room tells a story of labor, routine, and lives abruptly frozen in time. The crew passage and its sealed door reveal that even the most mundane spaces can hold profound significance. Beyond the hull and rust lies human experience, the choices, movements, and daily life of those who lived aboard the vessel. The ocean preserved these moments in perfect stillness, waiting for explorers to bear witness. And while many questions remain, why the crew left, what fate befell them, and why the chamber remained sealed, the discovery itself enriches our understanding of maritime history. Somewhere in the deep, other doors remain unopened, other passages untouched, and the ocean waits, patiently guarding secrets until curiosity, courage, and technology converge. For viewers, this story reminds us of the fragile persistence of human history and the patience of nature. And for those who thirst for exploration, it is a call. History is waiting beneath the waves, and every discovery tells a story worth hearing. If stories like this fascinate you, subscribe now for more real-life mysteries, forgotten histories, and underwater discoveries from around the world.